Winter 1941. The cold was no longer weather. It had become a weapon. On the Eastern Front, where Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union collided in the deadliest war zone on Earth, an entire battlefield vanished beneath snow, ice, and silence. Thousands marched into what soldiers would later describe as a white graveyard, and almost no one came back. This was the snow battle no one survived. The German invasion of the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa, had begun with terrifying speed. In just months, Hitler's armies tore through Eastern Europe like a machine impossible to stop. Entire Soviet divisions collapsed. Cities burned. Millions fled eastward. The German high command believed victory was inevitable. But they had made one fatal mistake. They thought they could defeat Russia before winter arrived. By November 1941, temperatures across the Eastern Front began dropping below -30 degrees Celsius. Snowstorms swallowed roads. Fuel froze inside tanks. Rifle bolts jammed solid. Men woke up with frostbite before sunrise. Then came one of the most brutal confrontations of the war. Near the forests outside Moscow, German troops pushed forward through endless snowfields, desperate to capture the Soviet capital before the year ended. Hitler demanded victory. Retreat was forbidden. But the deeper the soldiers marched into the frozen wilderness, the more the environment itself turned against them. Snow buried supply lines. Food stopped arriving. Medical units disappeared in blizzards. Entire convoys froze where they stood. Witnesses described horses turning into statues of ice overnight. Trucks abandoned beside roads became frozen tombs. Some soldiers burned furniture, ammunition boxes, even parts of their own equipment just to stay alive for another night. Then the Soviets attacked. Out of the white storm emerged fresh Siberian divisions. Troops trained for winter warfare, dressed in white camouflage, moving silently through snow the Germans could barely walk across. The German soldiers were exhausted, starving, and freezing to death before the battle even began. The Soviets struck at dawn. Artillery thundered through the blizzard. Snow exploded into the air like clouds of ash. Machine gun fire echoed through frozen forests where visibility dropped to only a few meters. Many soldiers couldn't even feel their fingers on the trigger. Some rifles shattered from the cold. Others froze to death while standing guard. One German officer later wrote that men simply laid down in the snow and never got back up again. The battlefield became chaos without direction. Snowstorms erased landmarks. Entire units became lost in white darkness. Soldiers wandered for hours, unable to tell where friendly lines ended and enemy territory began. And the cold kept killing. Not bullets, not explosions. The cold. Temperatures plunged so low that exposed skin froze in seconds. Wounded soldiers often died before medics could reach them. Tanks refused to start. Engines cracked apart from ice. Frozen corpses were sometimes impossible to bury because the ground had turned harder than concrete. Then came the terrifying part, the silence. After the artillery stopped, survivors described hearing almost nothing across the battlefield. Snow absorbed sound. The dead disappeared beneath fresh layers of white. Entire trenches vanished overnight. Some patrols walked directly over frozen bodies without even realizing it. In certain sectors, casualties became so extreme that commanders lost count entirely. Historians still debate the true numbers because so many soldiers were never recovered from the snow. Some simply disappeared. For the Germans, the dream of a quick victory in Russia died in that winter. The Soviet counteroffensive pushed them backward for the first time in the war. What was supposed to be a triumphant march into Moscow became a nightmare of frostbite, starvation, and endless retreat. The Eastern Front would continue for years, becoming the deadliest theater in human history. But winter 1941 changed everything, because it proved something terrifying. Nature could destroy armies just as effectively as bullets. The snow didn't care about strategy. It didn't care about ideology, German or Soviet, invader or defender. The storm consumed them all equally. And across the frozen forests of the Eastern Front, beneath layers of snow untouched for decades, countless soldiers still remain where they fell, preserved by ice, hidden beneath the silence of the Russian winter. A battlefield without graves, a war buried under snow, and a battle where survival itself became almost impossible.